my hot take is I strongly disagree.
Sorry. I was
You've been
shocked. I didn't
waiting for
expect
this.
Jaylon to have a hot take. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Stories, another episode. I am 1/3 of your host. I am Jared.
I'm Jaylon. I'm another third.
And I'm Charles. Hopefully I can still do this voice.
I love it. I love it.
I've been doing that voice since I was a wee little lad, and I think maybe I'm rusty. It's not so good as it is, but in terms of I've been doing it forever. Whether or not it's good, I have been doing it forever.
That's amazing. I always wished I could do voices because I love reading out loud to kids, but I am so bad at voices.
I used to
me
want to
too.
be a voice actor desperately, and I just realized I could never survive the business, so it kind of sadly ebbed away, but I'll still have stuff in my head.
I once met someone who just had a talent for voices, never talked about wanting to be a voice actor or anything, but he said the secret was that every voice is just different octaves of goofy, basically. I don't understand, but it was to him, that was his trick for learning all these different cartoon voices.
That made sense to him.
I usually would just repeat it again and again like I used to. I can't do it now. But when my sister was playing Wind Waker, the Legend of Zelda game where everything's flooded, there was this period I could do a really good David Lynch impression. Some of the text of the boat would come up and be like, "Hello, Link, you gotta go here." And I'm not doing it right now, but it was really funny to where my sister was like, "Stop it, you're annoying me." But I would just listen to Lynch again and again and again. So that's how I picked it up.
I was going to say that today we're talking about the best found family story ever.
Yeah, that might be true.
And we're talking about Lilo and Stitch. I have just seen it for the first time this past weekend in life. And we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about it, about my heartbreak and heartwarming moments.
Yeah, we all had to gang up on Jared and make him cry this weekend.
For sure. My ugly crying at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday.
See, this is what happens when the Pokemon remakes their first movie in bad CGI for no reason. This is what happens.
Exactly. If only, then there would have been no Lilo and Stitch for me to watch. We would have been watching Pokemon the first movie. However, before we jump into the talk about that, I want to check in with you guys, see what you guys have been watching. What have you guys been up to this past week? Yeah, what have you loved this week?
Last night I had a movie night with my best friend, long distance. All of my movie nights happen over video chat. We do the 1, 2, 3 go. But when I told her that I had such a hard time getting into Harry Potter, she told me that I had to watch Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So I'm trying to get into that instead. And I will say that the plot twist at the end of the second movie really got me. I really appreciated that. But I'm still having a hard time getting into it. It's like Harry Potter. I want to get into it. I'm wondering if it's just a personality. My brain just isn't up for getting excited about epic fantasy stories, which is so sad to me. But I feel like I'm trying to get into it, and it's still I get confused for no reason, and then I tune out, and then I randomly tune back in again. It's just hard for me to really care about it the way I want to. But all the little beasts are really cute. I do like them. And some of the actors in there, where there was a Dakota Fanning and a Jennifer Lawrence lookalike. And every other scene I see them in, I'm like, wait, who is that? Anyway, that's my rant.
That was funny. I haven't seen those movies because when they were announced, I was like, I don't care. And then by then, Signora Psychopath had shown herself to be Signora Psychopath. And I'm like, I definitely don't care. So I have no opinion on those, but I totally get it. These things happen. You try. It's like the Parks and Rec joke with Andy and the Expendables. First time I watched it, didn't really like it. Second time I watched it, still didn't like it. Third time I watched it, it was okay. But fourth, fifth, sixth time, I still didn't like it. I just can't do it.
No, I saw them, I think. Yeah, I did. I saw them. I didn't like them, but I did see them.
Okay. At least I'm not alone.
I didn't like them only because I knew that it was connected to Harry Potter. And so I was like, no, you will not get a fair shake from me. I am biased and I admit it.
It continues my perpetual torment, at least on Jared's side. Jaylon, I understand you. You've tried. It's not clicking. That's fine. You, on the other
Listen, listen, I've seen the Harry Potter movies. I've
Care
seen
about
them.
the movies in that sense. I mean, I do. I watch them all the time, but like
Fair enough.
that's a story for another day.
We'll probably watch that as well on this podcast eventually. At least one of them.
Yeah, and then you can hear about my awesome pitch that
For
Warner Brothers will never accept because they're also psychopaths.
fair enough.
Their loss.
I do have a really good pitch for a TV show. Will never happen, but it's actually really good. Moving on. For me, really quick to not make this extensive, I saw on Saturday night the day the Earth blew up, the Looney Tunes movie. So I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Long story. It was hilarious. As I told you too for the audience, there's a joke in here that made me laugh so long and so hard that my siblings told me to shush so that other people could keep watching the movie and so I could stop embarrassing them. I was just laughing so hard, so long. It was brilliant.
That is kind of laughing we need.
Yeah, it was
It's a soul laugh.
spectacular. The fact, like I was telling you guys, I'm like the fact that the Lord of the Rings War of the Rohirrim, this hand-drawn anime fantasy story that's dramatic and grounded and has this grand story to tell, came out in December from Warner Brothers, and they don't care about it. And then the Looney Tunes, which is the exact opposite, but still in the same quality, and Warner Brothers tried to kill this movie is just I don't understand. I can't fathom this. It's like this is gold, people. This is gold. Mine the gold. And they're like, no thanks. I'll take it.
No thing.
And I'm still reading it. Apparently a comic book that came out last year called Brownstone, which is about this 13-year-old Latina who was raised by her white mom. She doesn't know her Guatemalan dad, and she has to go spend the summer with him as he's renovating this brownstone. And it's given me all the flashbacks of my particular past, which will come up in this conversation about Lilo and Stitch. It's really good. Like, I'm reading this going, it's like finally some good food. And also, side note, there's so many like adult comic books or like mature comic books, right, that aren't about fantasy, science fiction, or horror or whatever. And you know what they are? They're about genitalia and horrible people being horrible and ambiguity for the sake of ambiguity. And I can't stand it. Like, I can't. So I'm reading this going, yes, thank you. Thank you. Good stuff. Enjoying it so far.
Nice. I've been grieving and dealing with sad stuff, so I've been trying to consume. That's what I want to say. I'm having a stroke apparently. I'm trying to consume as much things that bring me joy as possible. And so I've been like bouncing around from as many different things as I could. Like I started with Smallville, and then Smallville wasn't getting the job done, which is weird because Smallville can always get the job done. It's crazy. So I have been watching. First, I started by watching just some really bad television for the sake of it. So I was watching Riverdale, which is so fucking bad, but it's so bad that it's good.
Gangster in that one, like a Godfather, like never ask about my business, Betty, or something like that.
There's like random episodes. I'm on season 3, so far that hasn't happened. But I would not be surprised because that show I call it a kitchen sink television show because they literally put everything possible in it. People have like superpowers, they have serial killers, there was a random cult, there's like all of these really crazy things that are always happening. Archie was in prison for a little, in juvie for a while, and then there was like a prison escape and where like all the guards shot a bunch of kids. I was like, what is happening on the thing? And then like I mentioned this in the group chat, but it was so funny where like this dude, Archie's giving the pep talk, and he's like, listen, we can do this. We can get by this, It's like being on the gridiron and doing whatever. And this other dude is like, he's like, I don't know anything about football because I dropped out of school at 4 to sell crack for my grandmother. And then Archie's like, well, yeah, but you don't know the loss and defeat of a high school football game. And I'm like, he's like trauma dumping to you about his like childhood trauma of leaving, selling drugs for his grandmother. And you're comparing this to high school football. And I was just like, oh, someone wrote this. Someone chose to write these things. It's been hilarious and a little sad, but also hilarious. But outside of that, I've also been watching The Case Study of Vanitas, which is an anime that I really, really, really have grown to love a lot. It's a vampire anime, but like the way that they do vampires and the innuendo in that show is it's crazy. There was an episode where I thought I was watching like a 50 Shades of Grey thing, but that nobody was naked. Nobody was naked and nobody was doing it or anything. It was one person was drinking blood from another person, and the buildup and tension between those two people doing it was like I felt almost uncomfortable watching. I was like, should I be watching? I think I shouldn't watch it. Let me look away. Because I was like, oh, okay, so that's what we're doing here. But it's a fantastic show overall. And I strive to be like Vanitas in life. The unbothered nature of that character is so just perfect. It's just I can one day you guys have to watch it, at least an episode, so we can talk about it, because it's just fantastic. So that's what I've been pretty much watching, and I've also been reading a little. So I was slowly making my way through the last Ronin Ninja Turtles comic, and I love it so much. I'm
Dude, that comic,
terrified.
the ending made me cry. Like I was reading, it's like I'm like, you okay? I'm good. I'm good, man.
So I'm
Dude.
slowly making my way through it. I'm cautiously optimistic about the movie that's coming out, the live action movie that's coming out about it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm reading it for that reason. But I've read it before, but I'm reading it again, and I'm like, this is really, really good. There's a lot of good stories in the world. And we're going to talk about one today. That is Lilo and Stitch. It was going to be a knee slapper, but instead I chose to smack this speaker, which hurt. Moving on.
When jokes go bad.
So, Lilo and Stitch. So, for all of the guys who have never watched this film like myself, Lilo and Stitch is this movie that came out in 2002 about a little alien that is sent to Earth and then kind of adopted into this family that has its own problems, and somehow they figure out family is family, and you can be broken inside, which, oh my god, sorry, you could be broken inside, but you can still be good. So it's just an awesome movie. I've also established that my cat Bagheera will now be known from this day forward as Stitch, because that is his entire personality. I
Okay.
watched the movie and he is literally Stitch in cat form.
Speaking of funny, destructive Disney characters, my husband's Boston Terrier, when he was younger, was named Jack Jack because he just destroyed everything and randomly, became a ball of flames.
I wish I could be an animal so I could be destructive and people would
Right?
find it adorable.
I have a reincarnation list that I want.
Bring it with you if you can.
Gorilla, elephant, tiger, otter, red panda,
Red pandas, though.
and there's another one. But I would love to be an elephant because any animal that can be adorable and cool at the same time is like god tier animal right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think I want to be a Nutri-Grain bar box.
Wait, what?
So sorry.
It's not an animal.
Oh, it has to be animals? I didn't know it had to be animals. I want to be a Nutri-Grain bar box because I want to hold Nutri-Grain bars for my entire existence before I'm out of here. So
Everyone,
listen,
Jared is not okay. Send
we
thoughts
don't
and prayers.
judge. We don't judge here. I am free to be
I
a
ain't gonna
Nutri-Grain
judge.
bar
That's
box.
fucking stupid. I tease.
This is not a safe space. Oh my god.
Be a house cat, though.
That would be great. Being a house cat would be the best thing ever. Big idea stuff. So, first of all, I want to know, since, I mean, obviously this was my first experience, but what was you guys' first experience with Lilo and Stitch, and why did you do that to yourself?
I didn't have a choice. My husband heard that I hadn't watched it yet, and he turned it on and didn't warn me at all that I would be bawling my eyes out in 5 more minutes.
Drive-by emotional destruction. That's just so bad.
For real.
I was the target audience for the movie, so like I was seeing something or whatever, and I saw those trailers that I showed you where it's like Stitch interrupts Disney movie, and he looked adorable and it looked funny and great, and I just watched again. I can watch this movie and practically quote it. Like sometimes I'll be like talking to my brother and we'll be like, we'll just go like, let's talk about you. Are you happy? I'm adjusted. I hate for, and we'll just do the whole thing, the whole scene. But yeah, and there was a cartoon which has not aged well. It's fine, but it's not what it should be. And I saw all the stuff, all the movies and the material. It was just my thing. And then as I got older, I started to realize it was like, oh man, this might be like my favorite Disney movie, my favorite of the animation sections at least. And I was like, this is the most amazing thing in the world. And then it started to become like this comfort movie where it's like if I was feeling really down, I could turn it on because I knew everything, so I wasn't gonna miss anything, but it would cheer me up and inspire me. And then reading about Chris Sanders and Dean DeBloy, I'm not pronouncing this man's name, the directors of this movie and the history of this movie is fascinating. So it's kind of always followed me. Even last year at MomoCon, I got to briefly talk to Peter Raimundo, who was an animator on this movie, and I was like, yes. I even got to tell him about Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. He didn't know about this movie. So I got to kind of educate an animator of the Disney Renaissance era on
Wow.
animation. I felt like a god.
That's top tier.
That's God mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
For
God
But
mode.
I have, you can't see it now, but on my desk, there's a Lilo plushie. And then here's the big one. Here's the one I said. So this is, they used to have a, when the movie came out, this like knee-high Stitch plushie, right? And it was adorable. And my mom bought one for me. And so I've kept him all these years. So this is my Stitch. He is raggedy and kind of messed up. But this is my Stitch I've had since 2002. These my rotten soldier, my sweet cheese, my good time boy that I played with ad nauseum, learned to traverse the castles. And so, like I said, he needs to be patched up and cleaned up, but this is how much I know this film. He is like the child boy that I had. I said I would show, so there you go. Show
Thank
him.
you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that.
whole heart.
And also thank you for the wonderful, wonderful appearance of the Laszlo lines that needed to be heard, because every single time I hear those, I die laughing for an extended period of time. On TikTok, they have like this weird thing where they like put together all of Laszlo's lines, his funniest moments. So it just like goes, it's like Laszlo being Laszlo for 5 minutes straight. And it's just like all these, and I love it. And every time I hear my good time boy, I'm like, I'm dead. I'm dead.
Yeah, it's become a thing where it's like, you truly are the most devious bastard in
New
New York
City.
It's just been this thing.
But yes, sorry. All that being said, Lilo and Stitch is, like we said, it's a found family movie, which makes me wonder, why do people like found family so much? And why do you guys think it's like such a powerful thing in stories in general?
Because family is the most primal biological need that we're wired to have. And it's also the thing that's most broken in our world nowadays. So having that hope that you can still find a family that accepts you and loves you, that you belong in, is something so powerful and so redeeming when you come from a family that is broken or not perfect or messy, anything like that.
Yeah, can I get deep on this?
Get deep.
Okay, so this is what's interesting. This is what's kind of popped in my brain. The nuclear family imagery, you know, the mom, dad, the white, short-haired dad in the business suit, and then the blonde mom in the dress, and then the little redhead boy. I don't know why he's red or brunette. The hair, I don't know, whatever. And then the little sister, also blonde somehow. And then of course, golden retriever dog, which I hate making fun of the dog because the golden retriever is like peak dog. They're all peak dogs, but like golden retriever are just, I love them. Anyway, that nuclear family imagery is crap. It was invented by the Coca-Cola Corporation or whoever did it, whatever 1950s post-war horror landscape thing made it up. It's horrible. And whoever said, oh, that's the family you have to have, is absolute garbage. But there is this fundamental thing that I think we come into this world kind of wired for. It's not the nuclear family, it's just any kind of family. Because I think when you're born, right, not the nature of it, but the nature of it is everyone is born from their mother, right? And hopefully there's something good on the other side. So I feel it's like we're kind of wired to think we come to this world, okay, I get to have a family. And when you don't get that, or when you get it, but it's really screwed up and painful, it's like there's something that isn't quite right. And it kind of reminds me in the Alien comics from Dark Horse, which is basically Alien 3, more or less. There's a bit where it's a sequel to Aliens. So the girl from Aliens Nude is now an adult. And she has this description where it's like, once upon a time I had a family, then this horrible thing happened, now I don't. And this has scarred her, it's ruined her. And it's that same thing I think with families is that like you think you get it, and then when you don't get it, or then your dad's a drunk, or your mom leaves, or God forbid, like you have a family member who's a monster, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that you look at the nuclear family and go, why isn't my family like that? I mean, maybe you do, but you'll get over that. But I think what you don't get over, unless you can find something, is that sense of you've lost something. You lost something you don't even have. The word loss is very important in this movie. And to kind of cap that all off, it's interesting that I've always wondered. So now that you've seen the movie, Jared, so the bit that always makes me cry in this movie is when Stitch is leaving and Lilo has this conversation. And I love that she says, you know, She knows that Stitch disrespects her. She knows that he's pushing her and hitting her. But what she says is, I hear you cry at night. And she thinks you're dreaming about your family. But we know he doesn't have one. And we've never actually seen Stitch sleep. And I started getting older and I was like, why is Stitch crying? Where is that? Because we don't see it, but Lilo hears it. Why is he doing that? And I think it's kind of a part of that with Stitch. It's like I love the animation when right when he's about to find the ugly duckling story, he puts the can and he throws it away. But he does this thing with his hands. He goes, if you notice, he goes like this. Like he doesn't even know what to do with his hands now that it's all quiet and he doesn't know what to do with his own brain. And I think that it kind of ties into that if the lost family, the found family, I think is this universal thing because it's that sense of filling in something that, frankly, we are deserve. It is a part of the contract going into this world. And it's kind of funny because, like, for side detail, the manga Berserk, which I do not recommend, Jaylon, do not read this. Do not come within 10 miles of manga. If you can't handle certain things, and we said you can handle Starship Troopers, never read this manga. Ever.
Okay.
Don't look at it. Don't touch it. Anyone who knows what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Moving on. But the kind of like the joke per se is that the protagonist, his mother was hanged and he was still in her womb. So he literally falls out of her umbilical cord of a corpse in the tree. He's born from a corpse. And it's so dark. And it's fantastic. It's a great dark story. But that is like hellish. And I think when you don't have something that was in the contract with God and other stories, thank you, Will Eisner, it feels like we're like guts, frankly, even though none of us are going to have as screwed up a life as him, God willing, it feels like that all the same. And I think that's how hard it is when you're missing something like that. So when you get to see something like Lilo and Stitch, Guardians of the Galaxy, heck, even Little Miss Sunshine, which is not about a found family, but more a family coming back together, is really endearing. And I think we're not allowed to talk about that mostly because it's like, you just want the nuclear family. It's not about the nuclear family. It's about something more, which is why, have you seen the Rudy episode of Bob's Burgers from a few years back? Rudy's envy, I don't know what you would call it, this innocent envy for the Belchers. It was heartbreaking watching that for the first time because that's all he wants. He just wants that and he can't have that. And it's the same thing. So if you can do this with Bob's Burgers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Lilo and Stitch, I think it's a part of a primal thing in us that we can't get. I talk way too much, so that's
I
my
loved all those words. Those were so, so deep, so good.
I want to get deep too. I'm gonna be honest with you. When I watched this movie, I watched Stitch and I thought, that's me. Because I had a conversation today, but I've been having this conversation my entire life about abandonment, right? And the recognition of how the impact that abandonment has on one's life. And if you let it, how it can corrupt everything that you hold dear and all the things that you could have in your life. When I look at my life, I think a lot about myself and how I question when people leave, why did they leave me? Right? And I think, what's wrong with me? Why did you leave? And the conversation I had earlier was when I realized, I was having that realization that when I asked that question, I'm asking, and I apologize, by the way, to the listeners. This is probably going to be one of those therapy session episodes.
Podcast. You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those therapy session episodes. Not, but sorry, I'm working some shit out, and you guys are just going to have to listen to it. But
This is what
I realized that person that's asking that question, why did they leave me? Why am I not good enough to stick around for? To an extent, is not 37-year-old me asking it. It's the little boy who's still waiting for his dad to come back, who is still pissed off that his brother went to the military and left him with his mom. The teenager who's still pissed off at religion because all his teenage friends turned their back on him because he went to a psych hospital and they were like, you're of the devil. And so that version, that boy, is still very much alive inside of me. And when I watched this movie and I saw Stitch, because Stitch's reaction is very different. Stitch's reaction to his abandonment and his not really belonging anywhere is more of a destructive thing. And I thought, I think I'm destructive in my own life for a similar reason. Anybody who knows me, that has known me long enough, has known that one of the things that you'll always hear me say is I've always been trying to find my tribe. I've always been trying to find my people. And I think that's always been my thing. And if I'm being really honest, I think it's that fear of abandonment is the tribe that you're trying to find is just the people that don't leave you. The people that decide, even though you're a little bit screwed up or you've got some issues or you got some stuff going on, I'm still going to stay here with you and we're going to figure it out together. We can't fix you and I'm not trying to fix you. I'm just here. And I think that that's one of the reasons why, I ugly cried for like a half an hour after watching this movie, because it was like, that's what it feels like when somebody stays and somebody chooses you. Because that's the thing about abandonment. It's not so much that somebody hasn't chosen you, because people choose people all the time. It's choosing someone and then staying anyway, when things are not great. And sometimes you do have to let people go, and you do have to, that kind of thing. That's a natural part of life. But the idea of somebody choosing you, and so that moment where, like, I understand that, like, Stitch ultimately stayed with Lilo because he didn't want to die. And so he was, like, ultimately using this child as, like, a human shield to live at first. But in that moment, Lilo picks him, and she's like, I want to buy him. And she, borrows the $2 and then gives it back, and she makes the payment. And in that moment, I was just thinking, oh, man, that reminds me of Charles. That reminds me of Jaylon. That reminds me of Eric. That reminds me of my friend Kyle and my friend Alex. Oh, that's the moment where they found me and they put their little $2 on the thing and they took me home, even though I am a little ball of shit sometimes. But but it's a powerful thing. And I think that to answer the original question, and I went down a rabbit hole of just trauma dumping on you guys, but found family for me, I think, is so powerful because I'm still deep down inside a little boy waiting for people to come back and pick me, and finding people that picked me and chose to stay and chose that have seen me, especially lately, people who, and I say this to you guys because I want to give them their flowers. These two individuals on this podcast have seen me probably at my worst in the last few weeks, and have not once been like, go away, shoo. This is not a professional relationship and you need to go sit in the tub or something.
More like a dick? Really? Is that the baseline?
It is. That's so sad. But the bar is really low in my life. But they've been there and they've been supportive. And not only that, they've checked on me. They've been there and they've been there every step of the way. And that is why I think found family is so powerful, is that moment where you find a character that you see has been through the ringer, and then they find a group of other people who've also kind of been through the ringer, but also are like, we can figure out this life thing together. The last thing I'll say before I jump to another part of the questions is our company's godfather, Eric, and I had a conversation this morning, and he was talking about how human beings aren't possessions, right? So you can't own another person. Another person can't belong to you, and nobody is ultimately leaving you. They just get to be with you. We all go through life together. So whether it's dating, whether it's a friend, whether it's whatever, we're going through our lives as individuals, and then other people come in and they sit with us and they go on that journey with us for a little while, and then they go off and do their own thing. And it's never really I'm leaving you. It's I'm living my life, going my journey and doing all that. This is Eric's attempt to try to get me to understand that I'm not fully being abandoned, or reframing abandonment. But nonetheless, the idea of found family is all that same concept of people being together through an experience, for however long that lasts. Because I'm one of those weirdos who like things about where the characters are after the credits roll. So in my mind, sometimes they're together forever and they're living life, or you get a spinoff cartoon like this movie did.
So that is interesting. There was a direct-to-video movie called Stitch Has a Glitch, which is flawed. It's a direct-to-video movie, but actually you do get to see them be together as a family, like actually operating. And there's this hilarious bit of Stitch and Lilo are arguing, and so basically she's putting a finger towards him, and he goes, she's touching me, and she goes, I'm not touching, you're touching me. And it's the most hilarious thing ever. So there is hope in this one, I will say.
Good,
Life goes on in the best of ways
good,
for
good.
Matthew.
This is a journey. I was for some reason I was about to bust out in song and just be like, there it is again. I'm proving my
I
point that
told you.
musicals do exist. I'm always saying that people don't bust out in song in real life, but apparently I do. But I was about to be like, this is the story of a girl, and I don't know why I was going to do that, but
What did she do? What did she do? I don't get that song, by the way. That came on the other day, and I was like, what is this? Did I miss something?
I
Like
don't know why
Smash
I
Mouth
listen to that
Wolfrock?
song all the
Totally
time.
get that song. I'm like, did I miss something?
Do you know what song I can't? Sorry, I know this is side up. But do you know what song I cannot stop listening to? Teenage Dirtbag. I know it's like a thing. Everybody on TikTok it's a trend now. So people are, well, not now, but at one point people were doing it for a while. But now I find myself doing it all of the time in like everything. I'm like washing dishes and I'm just like, I'm just a teenage. And then like, and my dog is just like, bro, shut up and just wash the dishes.
Oh.
So, and then I proceed to sing louder.
Ben still randomly busts out in song, like so randomly. It's the all you gotta do is open this bag,
Nice.
or ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves. Those are the songs that get randomly sung in our house from
This
the epic
is-
musical.
This is what happens when Charles shares musicals with us, and now we're just singing them randomly. So let's talk about Elvis. So
Yes. Yes. I need to talk about Elvis.
yes, this movie
This
has
is
a lot of
actually
Elvis in it.
very important to me.
Elvis is very important to me too. We have things in common. So there's a lot of Elvis in this movie, like a lot. And I don't know why I wasn't, because I've seen, okay, let's be real. I have seen clips of Lilo and Stitch. I've seen memes of Lilo and Stitch. I've seen stuff like that in life. So there was stuff that I was like, okay, this makes sense now that I've seen this. But that whole like Hawaiian shirt, white jumper from the Elvis Presley, the 60s comeback where he does the thing and he's wearing the jumpsuit and all of that.
Fun fact, I think that was actually inspired by Captain Marvel Jr. I've researched that.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel's sidekick, because Elvis was really into Marvel Jr.
So
that's where it is.
So like, yeah, I've seen that. And then I saw, Stitch had the little jumpsuit on and he was doing the thing on the beach. And I've seen that in other places before. And I was always like, oh, that's a cool little nod to Elvis. Cool. But then I watched the movie and I was like, wow, there is a lot of Elvis here. And I don't know what to do about it. I mean, I love Elvis, but like, that's a lot in a cartoon movie. And I was like, but no, this is a good thing. This isn't bad. I'm just saying there's a lot of Elvis. But Charles, please tell us about your experiences with Elvis and why he means so much to you.
Okay, well, so one, I love Elvis in general, but I'm talking specifically Elvis's use in this movie.
Mhm.
Specific, do I do so? Elvis. Here's a fun fact. So my mom was into Elvis because her dad, my grandpa, was really into Elvis. So we had the soundtrack to this movie, and that's how I know these certain songs. But my mom had said like there was, and I'm getting a little bit mixed up. There was like her and her sister, like as if it was like a concert, like in the dark, would sing one of not of one of the songs of the soundtrack, but some song like early 70s children will. And so growing up with this movie, it was something that was really cool that I could connect with my mom because I knew Elvis from this movie that I loved and she knew Elvis in general. So it was something I could really connect to. And it's just really funny and really different. Honestly, this movie broke all the rules. It was actually hidden from Michael Eisner, the CEO at the time, because the president of animation said, this is a really good idea. If we show this to the boss, he's going to throw it away. We'll keep it in Florida, Disney World. We'll keep it there. And then when it's done, when it's ready to show, we'll show him. And guess what? Eisner loved it because he didn't get his little mitts on it. Eisner is a very interesting character. But to that end, this movie's really crazy. Anyhow, Elvis. Here's what's really interesting. And I was reminded about this reading that Brownstone comic. Elvis's relation to Hawaii is weird. And by weird, I mean we could get into it in the super, super details about Hawaii history, of how America conquered Hawaii, like the good old galactic imperialists they are, etc., etc., etc. But the detail of it is that I started to realize as I got older and bad stuff was happening to me, and I was like, Lilo is this brown girl who's in love with Elvis, and Nani loves Elvis. And I always assumed that like their parents were really into him and they passed it on to their kids, and that was the detail. In the Stitch Has a Glitch direct-to-video sequel, they actually go to this bench that was in Blue Hawaii, the movie that Elvis was in, and there's a bit, they sit on the bench, and Lilo goes, I can't believe it. My butt is in the shadow of the butt of Elvis Presley. By the way, because Lilo is one of the greatest kid characters ever, and I relate to her more and more as I get older. Or at least I'm retrospecting, remembering. I was like, oh, I was like this and as a kid. Anyway, but I was thinking about that. I'm like, that's really interesting because I feel like today people would go, oh, Lilo being an Elvis is God's. I hate saying this word in this context. In this thing, problematic. But I always love that no one has ever questioned that with Lilo, that she just loves Elvis. But why? Because Elvis is hers, her thing. Even though Elvis, you could argue, not necessarily the face of, but has certain kind of American imperialistness over Hawaii, she doesn't care. Because to him, or to her, and Nani, and thusly Stitch as well, he's just a rocker. And it's just great music that they can connect to and they love. And that was really important to me because, so as being Latino, but how I grew up in a Latino neighborhood, and I knew there was a Vallarta that we'd go to sometimes and yada, yada, yada. And I grew up with my grandma who was from Mexico, my grandpa who's from Puerto Rico, God rest their souls. And so I knew the stuff, right? Then I came to the godforsaken armpit that is Georgia, and like, crap, I don't have time to get into this. But there was this feeling, especially from other Latinos, where basically their idea of their culture was Spanish. That was it. If you could speak Spanish, you were Latino. If you weren't, you can't. I can speak a little Spanish, but very, very poorly, not very well for various reasons. It's just the way the cookie crumbled. And to constantly hear that, and this is what's in the Brownstone comic too, it's like, oh, if you don't speak Spanish, you're not Latino. I'm like, I know more of the culture and history than you, motherfucker, but hey, whatever, go and enjoy yourself, whatever. And it was really hard. But part of what was that hard about that is that when you, as a high schooler, when you were a geek like me, constantly keeping up with Marvel and DC superhero comic books, you were like, no one looks like me. Yes, I know Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern exists. There are exceptions. But like, as a whole, I was like, there was no one that looked like me, no one that was like me in any case. And I started to feel kind of guilty. And I started looking at all the stories in the media that I loved, the bands that I loved, the video games that I loved, and the cartoons. And I'm like, none of them are brown. None of them could tell you Mexico from Costa Rica. No one could. And I started feeling kind of really horrible about myself. And it's through Lilo and Stitch that I started realizing that's totally okay. No one would ever say that Lilo was left Hawaii because she loves Elvis. And Elvis is completely separated from her world. And I started realizing that I'm like, oh, that's okay, that I am still brown and I still love Hal Jordan Green Lantern. Oh, come on, let's be honest. It's Jon Stewart Green Lantern. That's not true. But Jon Stewart's always my favorite. But that idea that you could be into different outworlds, different things of the world, and you could still be you. I think actually Paddington 3 had a really interesting conversation about this, about being mixed and etc. Really meant something to me. And I think honestly, even then, I think that's thematically significant about how Lilo takes something that she loves and makes it her own and doesn't let anyone make her question, well, how could you love Elvis? Because Elvis was this. She's like, it's mine. I don't care. And she's still who she is. She's still of her people and the world and etc. And I think that even that kind of, now that I think about it, ties into bringing connectivity rather than disconnectivity. So I wanted to get that off my chest because it was something that I've been thinking about a little bit lately. And I was like, that was really important. And also Elvis is just very cool.
Yeah.
Side note, this is really weird, but the one, I'm way different about this now, but the one rom-com I liked as a kid or teenage or preteen, whatever it was, Fools Rush In. I'm drawing a blank on the two actors' names, but the reason I liked it was because it was about a white guy and a Latina getting together, and there was nothing like that. As a kid, there was nothing like that. And you know how that song of that movie ends with?
What?
Fools Rush In, the song. Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you. So Elvis, apparently, Elvis is the great connector of cultures. I'm gonna think about this.
I love
What about
it.
you, Jalen? Did
This
you like Elvis?
This is such an important conversation to have. I will say I relate to it in a different way because growing up homeschooled in the, I mean, I want to say it was sheltered, but it wasn't sheltered necessarily in a toxic way because I didn't experience the judgment for liking something different than everyone else. When I went out into the world and interacted with like kids my age who went to public school, it was always a joke that, like, I always had to pretend that I had watched a movie that I actually hadn't, or I understood a reference that I didn't, because otherwise I would be judged. So there was that really big differentiator where I really do appreciate how I was raised because I didn't have to face that judgment or that guilt for liking something that nobody else did. There was no interest that was too niche. There were a lot of interests that were too mainstream, but that's a different story. But I did really like, as I got older, I can still, in a way, understand and relate to, especially nowadays where you have so many political conversations about how to do representation right, how to do authenticity right, the prejudice that we all unknowingly develop. These are all very important conversations, very real things. And it's not a simple enough conversation that any one person will necessarily have the perfect answer to it. I think it's something that, again, we need something to unify us so we can open up this conversation so everyone can contribute their own perspectives. In that sense, I really appreciate what you said, Charles. Even if I don't have a personal story or a personal connection with Elvis, I can appreciate this niche for that sense. I think this is a very important conversation that we need things that unite us, not things that divide us.
I agree with that. It's funny though. I was also thinking about like when I was a kid, I remember I was begging my mom to homeschool me because I was like, the kids don't like me at school. And I don't want to go and I want to be homeschooled. And then I was like, you know what? Never mind. Because if I get homeschooled, the kids won't like me there either. And then my mom was like, you're the only kid here. And I was like, and I remember being like, my point stands.
That is too real.
So, yeah, that was my childhood. But, sorry. So, yeah, I also loved Elvis growing up, like, a lot. And I did have that problem in school where people did judge you for it. Because, like, when I was growing up, this is showing my age a little bit, but when I was growing up, wow, I became that guy. The guy who's back in my day, but, like, there was the Hot Boys and, like, Juvenile and, I guess 50 Cent and Eminem and them were around too, but that was a little bit later when I was like a teenager. But I'm talking about like when I was like 8 years old and like 9 years old, and like it was all about like Tupac and Biggie and things of that nature was going on. So I, the little kid from Dorchester, which was like the ghetto where I grew up. And so I grew up and I had like the collector's edition of the thing. I'd go to the mall. We'd go to like Tower Records, or we'd go to like Sam Goody, all these stores that are like gone now. But like we went there and like the only, my mom's like, I'll get you one thing. So go and get it. And so like I'd be in the store and there'd be all these kids and they're getting like, oh, the Britney Spears CD or the NSYNC CD, whatever. And here I come with this freaking collector's edition Elvis Presley's greatest hits, or like Billy Joel's greatest hits, and my mom's like, who are you? And I'm just like, just buy it. And so I remember like being in my room and singing all of the Elvis songs, and I know them all to this day, front to back, and I would do this crazy Elvis Presley impression. And when my mom would take me to like these religious events where they have like these little get-togethers, they weren't like organized like church things. They were more just like, like little get-togethers people have after church where they come and have food and stuff. And so I would go and they would sit me on the
Sorry, you gave me a flashback.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Continue.
But like the elders, one of the elders would like sit, sounds like a Dune ritual, but like one of the elders would sit me on top of the coffee table and they would all just like gather around me and I would just do Elvis for them. And didn't like shake my hips and everything. But I was really bad at shaking my hips because I thought I was Elvis, so I thought I could do the hip shaking thing, but it was like really this weird spazzing seizure looking thing that I was doing. But I would do that, and it was the best. And as I got older, all the kids at school were like, this was back when you had like CD players. So I would have my CD player or your Walkman, depending on, if you were poor, like I was. So you would have like a Walkman, or you'd have a CD player, and you're doing that, and like everybody's like playing, and I'm in the back of the classroom, so, talking about it's down at the end of Lonely Street, and everyone's like, get out. So I loved Elvis. I loved him so much, and like, so it was kind of sad because when you get older you find out, oh well, Elvis is kind of problematic a little bit, but
Yeah.
that's whatever. I still enjoyed the music. So when I heard it on this and I saw like Lilo is just in love with this dude, I was just like, bro, that's me. I get that. I get that so much, especially, and then the vinyl, like playing it on vinyl and everything. Like, I can tell you how many times, like, that my fondest memories as a child are Thursday nights when we'd come home from Bible study and my mom and my older brother, this was before he got thrown out of the house, then went in and had a kid at a teenage. Sorry, Tony, if you're listening, I'm telling all your business. But before that, we would sit around and we would put on the record player, and that I can still hear that crackling sound of the record playing, and it would be like we'd listen to like the Odells, or we'd listen to Smokey Robinson, or all these other things, and my mom would like let us stay up a half an hour later than we would normally do just so that we could sing songs or whatever. And I still remember that to this day. That's like my favorite thing as a child. So my greatest memories have always been surrounding music and family, which is odd because my family's kind of, but yeah, so I love Elvis. That's the point of that.
Kind of taking off of what you said, I think that every human is problematic. Just as a human, you're going to be problematic because you're human. No human is perfect. And my hot take is I strongly disagree.
Sorry. I was shocked. I didn't expect Shaylon to have a hot take. Sorry, go ahead.
That's our job.
Maybe this is me.
I know.
But I strongly disagree with people who think that we should stop letting people create art and stop enjoying art that people make just because they're problematic, because that's part of being a human. And so I think that there's still good that can coexist with the bad, and you can still appreciate the good while also acknowledging the bad.
Well. Shaylon swung for the fences with that hot take. I love that.
You didn't even just like go
She
for
took
it.
like
You
the
went for
hardest one.
The hardest
I'll
one.
just leave that there and just
I tell you, I say this to Jaylon all the time. She never ever ceases to surprise me.
you come out of my shell. That's the problem.
But I love it. I love it. Every time I expect one thing, and then she's just like over there with a whole other thing. This is awesome because this is a conversation that has to be had. I think me and Charles have kind of had this conversation a little bit in the past, not on a podcast, but I think we just had it in like conversation. But I've had this conversation with him. I've also had this conversation with my film mentor about separating art from the artist and how some people are really, really good at that and some people are not. I think people are good at it conveniently, or bad at it conveniently, whichever one you want to do it. Because I think some people will be like, stand on their soapbox and be like, this person's an asshole and I will never support their stuff, because deep down inside they didn't really like that shit anyway, so it's not really a big loss. But the moment you try to take their R. Kelly from them, they're like, oh my god. No, that's very specific, I apologize. Like I was thinking of so many people that I know, but I'm saying that the point is that you have so many people that do get selectively outraged about things. However, I do believe in separating the art from the artist. And if that makes me problematic, I'm okay with it. I believe it. I don't believe that because you as a human are shitty, that somehow something you made magically becomes shitty. Quality is still quality, So there are certain people who I find it difficult now to consume their content because I'm a little rubbed raw by the information that I have about them. For instance, Neil Gaiman is a prime example of this. Because I mentioned this before when I read the article about what he did, and I read that 40-minute long article. But the detail that it goes into really fucked it up for me, because it just kind of made me think, oh, this person who I've admired for a very long time and I've enjoyed their work for a very long time, it's kind of hard, especially I always find it hard to separate the art from the artist when the art has been used to manipulate other people into doing horrible things.
That's different. That's the difference. There's the line.
I think that's where I find it difficult. I can't get past that. I had a really heated debate with someone about Bill Cosby recently, and they were like, how can you like Bill Cosby, and how can you watch the Cosby Show, and he raped many women? And I was like, yeah, I understand. I don't like Bill Cosby. I'm not having lunch with Bill Cosby, but I will not say that I don't find Bill Cosby's comedy funny. I will not, because that would be lying. When I watch his comedy, I laugh. It happens. Or the Cosby Show, which on top of the Cosby Show is a little bit different because I've always felt that it's kind of unfair to punish everyone else who worked hard on that show because of one individual on that show. But it's also, peak comedy to me. But I don't know. We kind of mentioned J.K. Rowling earlier, which is another person who is considered to be a bit problematic to people. For those that are like, I can't watch or read anything Harry Potter related because of what this person did, I find that to be, I want to give certain people permission to do it. If you enjoy it, enjoy it. Enjoying the content does not mean that you don't buy it, though. If you can pirate it and do whatever you can to do that, don't put money in their pocket, but at least it shouldn't stop you from consuming the content itself. If you resonate with the characters, if you resonate with the world, if whatever it is speaks to you, I don't think that it's wrong to enjoy that. I do agree with not putting money in the pocket of, it's a little bit harder for things like for musicians where it's like, oh, I listen to them on Spotify because like they get money off those streams. So you just kind of have to go to YouTube and call it a day. But you might have to inconvenience yourself on how you find the content, but I don't think you should throw the content out just because the person is bad. If I don't plan on ever becoming a problematic individual, but if I ever did, I would hope that if I ever made something that people enjoyed, that helped them get through a really tough time or whatever, I would hate that they would just feel like they couldn't sit with that anymore because I'm a piece of shit. I'm not a piece of shit, but I mean, well, I'm not that kind of a piece of shit.
We're all deeply flawed, but we are deeply flawed in lovable ways. We're your favorite villain.
For sure.
We're your favorite gray protagonist.
I think it's a very complicated conversation. I've never really appreciated that people will measure other people based on their interpretations of media, because I think how you treat people in real life that's when the chips are down. But as a whole, I do get very, very touchy when there are people who hurt other people, but they're rich enough and popular enough that, well, just give it a few years and then they come back and they do stuff. There are several animators, several cartoonists who hurt children and hurt women. And then a few years later, there was one that said, well, I found Jesus and now I'm making another cartoon. I went, if you found Jesus, you wouldn't be making another cartoon. You'd be doing something right. And I don't appreciate that topic. This also being said, again, it is a very complicated situation because Johnny Cash was also kind of a piece of shit.
Yes.
But everyone loves Johnny Cash. So I do think it is a very difficult conversation. There was something when the J.K. Rowling stuff popped up. I remember there was a Christmas I was decorating and we had this lovely Harry Potter stocking. And my sister was a more Potter person than I am, and I adore it. Means a lot to me. When I revisited it last year, I was like, oh man, Harry Potter shaped me more as a person than I remembered. And she asked, she's like, do we want to put that up? And I said, not against her. It wasn't her. It was just me vehemently. I'm like, yes, because she is not going to take away what this means to me.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, it also is very difficult because there are certain Sandman stories that now have been put into a different light because it doesn't seem to come from a place of wisdom. It seems to come from a place of harshness. It will put that way simply. I think hypocrisy is starting to become the worst thing in the world in every capacity. Maybe it always was the worst thing in the world. But I really do feel it is a really difficult case-by-case basis that is a struggle and depends on your mileage, because you don't want someone to take away something that was precious to you and important to you, but sometimes you can't stand it. So I can still accept Harry Potter as being Harry Potter and have nothing to do with the woman who got sued for bullying someone online. Anyway, but at the same time, there are other stories that I can't quite stomach anymore. But I personally, it's not necessarily separating the artist from the art for some intellectual exercise, but to not let horrible people take away something that belonged to me. That was my thing, my telling of it. But it is a very complicated situation, and even I fall for hypocrisy because sometimes I'll let someone else have a pass by those same definitions and but in a paradoxical way, I'm more forgiving, but also more harsher than what you two said.
It is a very important conversation to have, and it is very nuanced. So there's not going to be just one right answer and then a very wrong answer. So anyone listening, chime in with your perspective. Let's keep this conversation going. But I guess that's what I was trying to get to, is like, people can put light into the world through art, regardless of whether they have darkness inside them. And so don't cancel their light with the darkness, because then you've just left the equation at.
Or to apply to Lilo and Nani's perspective and what they give Stitch, you can take away good from that. Knowing that Elvis was very, we'll put it that way, you can still, they took positivity, exactly what you were just sharing, Jared. Don't give the people credit, give the art credit.
I feel like social media in general has made the statement "never meet your heroes" far more true than it's ever been. Cause it's like, back in like the golden age of Hollywood before there was social media, and like the only way you ever really saw a movie star was in a movie. Maybe they did some kind of interview that you read in a magazine or heard on the radio type of thing. But like, they were all shit people. Like they were horrible and did horrible things, but you knew nothing about it until many, many years later. And now that we have social media and people are able to just sort of be and come out and talk about things, now we know the truth about our heroes. And once you find that out, it's like, it was just like the premise of The Boys, of just kind of like, once you meet your heroes, you really realize, oh, they're kind of trash. But I think that, yeah, it's just an interesting thing. I think it is, like you said, it's a nuanced conversation. I think there are a lot of people with a lot of different opinions on it. I think a lot more people do believe in the idea that you should be able to separate the artist from the art than they let on. I think people feel like they can't say that because it feels kind of like, oh, that's not a PC thing to say. It's not a, or it makes me problematic if I say that that's the case. But I think it's unrealistic. I think it's unrealistic to say that you shouldn't like someone's work because they are bad, because their work didn't do the thing. Their work didn't do the action. I like characters from a certain story, or I like songs because they resonate. And that's what stories are all about in general. They're about what resonates with people. And if something resonates with me, it's not because the person that made it, is what they are. So that all falls into the whole, we're not going down this rabbit hole because I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, and I'm not dragging anyone else down this rabbit hole with me. But it does go into the whole space of cancel culture and all that. And I think that's stupid as well. But whatever.
I miss the old terms.
The old terms?
Yeah, people will say, oh, it's cancel culture. I'm like, that would be blacklisting. We used to call it blacklisting.
Yes.
No, it's blacklisting.
For sure.
The internet bores me. Social media bores me. Moving on. The Lilo.
Yes.
Put a timestamp to dodge that side quest.
What is the most emotional, powerful moment for you in this movie?
That's not fair.
Yeah, it is.
They were a couple.
Nope, you can only pick one.
I talked about the scene where Lilo says goodbye to Stitch. Stitch sleeping outside alone right after that scene is heartbreaking. But also, as emotional as this movie is, it is hilarious.
Yeah.
It is.
Leave me alone to die. My friends need to be punished. It is a freaking hilarious movie. There is so much of this movie that just tickles me and also really endearing. But I think something, what's weird is, of course, when Stitch, says goodbye to them on the beach, and that whole bit is just beautiful and perfect. But what's weird? I'm gonna be, because I think there's like a lot of people that would say the same thing. If you're like me, you've seen this movie a million times. Those scenes. But what's weird? This is a weird one I'm gonna throw out there that's like unconventional. There's a bit. It's very tiny. It's very quick. Is when Stitch he's on the road, right? When they're trying, it's the finale, right? He's on the road and he dodges Gantu's shot from the spaceship. And Lilo says, "Don't leave me, okay?" And he goes, "Okay, okay." And then he sees the striking arrows, "Okay." And I love the same frog, by the way. But that actually kind of hits me because I love that Stitch doesn't know what he's doing. He goes, "Okay, I'm going to do that. How do I do this?" And he goes, "Okay, it's for Lilo. This is how I want to do it. This right here." But also, again, Lilo doesn't get enough credit in this movie. But I remember I had a Disney animation book. It was a very tourist one. It's not very in-depth. I have more in-depth books now, or at least I've read them. But there was a bit in the development of this movie, they said that Lilo is this child of infinite kindness. And that stuck with me. And actually, for my own project, I guess I'll just pimp myself out here, for Cosmos, when I was starting to really work on that, I hadn't realized that a major character, my major gal, she had no personality. I had notes. And I was like, where did the personality go? I didn't know where to start. And I remembered that from Lilo. And I said, let me go put that for her. And it started to shape into the character. Because I love these small little details. Like I love when she wants to play dolls with, by the way, Myrtle was a kid, son of a bitch. I hated her.
Right.
She reminded me of so many girls that I had to go to school with at that age. And I just
Yep.
anyway, and even there's a lot to unpack there. Side note, Lilo and Stitch really did have there were elements that were much more cultural in this movie, including a whole deleted scene about Lilo screwing around with tourists, which is really fascinating and interesting. And there's I don't know if we'll have time to unpack that. But I love the shot where she gets upset. She throws her doll down, runs away, and then she comes back and gets it because she knows
Mhm.
she was really mad at. Oh, there's
Mhm.
just so much I could go on and on and on. And then we haven't even talked about Bleakley and Jumbo, who are like side detail, right? And I am going to go on a small related rant here. There's all these horrible, horrible people who are like, no, children can't know about queer people. I'm like, one, two, everyone I knew totally accepted that Bleakley just dressed in women's clothes. We just accepted this as children,
That was the
and we had
thing?
no problem. So you can shove that up your ugly arse anyway. But no, even Pleakley and Jumba are freaking hilarious in this movie too, and are very endearing. The whole surfing sequence is also like endearing. I'm taking away from Jalen's comment. I'm sorry.
If I had to choose the scene, I mean, I cried at a few different scenes, but if I had to choose the one that made me cry the most, it would be the GIF that Jared sent us with "It's my family. I found it all on my own."
Oh my god, don't say it.
What a perfect example of less is more. Just a
Mm.
few words that say enough. Great writing.
Alright, hang on.
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that moment until you said it. Oh,
Dang it, I made myself cry.
yeah, all of the
But I
ones that
also
Charles said.
I'd like to throw out there that I think something that's really special about Lilo and Stitch, the aforementioned Little Miss Sunshine also does this too, is that it doesn't make everything work out perfectly. So this is not a defense of this movie. I adore this movie. If they would just do a 30th anniversary release in theaters, I would be on this like a fat kid on a tweaky. But a Goofy movie, right? It's not an offense to this movie. 5-star film. I love it to death. But if you want to compare it, a Goofy movie with the Goofy and Max, they're like very simpatico at the very end of the movie, as if everything kind of got solved. Now, granted, it's not a problem. It's a different relationship, father son, different story, different thing. Totally fine. But in comparison, I do think it's really powerful that in Lilo and Stitch, the movie doesn't go for that angle if it wanted to. Because again, Goofy movie's perfect the way it is. It's telling a different story. But it's interesting that Lilo and Stitch doesn't go, okay, everyone's simpatico now. What Stitch says is they're broken. They're hanging by a thread. However, they do still have value, which I think is very, very powerful. And I do appreciate stories, especially ones that are all ages that kids are going to watch or read or etc that go, you're wonderful the way you are. I think it's very, very important. But I also do appreciate stories that do say you are screwed up and that is okay, that you don't have to put the pressure on yourself to be fixed, or you still are worthy of love despite being screwed up, which the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, I think, does beautifully, freaking beautifully. Oh man, Guardians 3, by the way, side detail related to this movie. That is the first time I ever was in a movie theater and you cried. No, I cried tears of joy. I have never cried tears of joy. I saw that with my family. My mom was sitting next to me. She started crying, and apparently my sister said she started. It's like tears of joy with that movie. So if you want to go for timelessness, there's things in this movie that do really well.
Oh man. Okay, so let me say this. Fuck. Okay.
Everyone's listening, going, "This podcast went in a really weird direction. What the hell?"
You know what happened. The okay, don't leave me okay, Stitch saying okay moment. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. He said it. It was said. I cried immediately. As soon as he said okay, I said, oh. that was one. The whole I found it all by myself. Oh my god.
We didn't even talk about Lilo and Nani's goodbye bit, which you may or may not know about certain pieces of history too.
Yeah, so overall, all of that. But what Charles is saying about you can be broken and it's still being okay, I think not just in this movie, but I think in a lot of movies, that's kind of a thing that I think we all need to hear. Because what nobody talks about, at least with nothing I've heard anyone else talk about much, is what happens when things are not okay and the world tells you people you find people that care about you that tell you it's okay if you're not okay and all of that. But what happens when you start to think, but what if I'm never gonna be okay? And what happens those days where that is the thought process? I have thought for quite some time, and if I can be a little vulnerable in my life right now, there's things going on that are devastating to me. But more importantly, there's the realization that now there's a new start, a new chapter, a new place to go. But there are parts of myself that I feel, for lack of a better word, I want to try to stop saying broken, but for lack of a better term for right now, we're going to use that word. There are parts of me that I feel are broken. And for a really long time, it was really easy to blame that brokenness on the people that are around me where I am. But then the question I started thinking about was what happens when you have that fresh start and you're still broken? Then what happens? And so when I talk about Lilo and Stitch, and I say I like to think about the after credits thing, because at the end of the movie Lilo and Stitch, Stitch changes to an extent. He's better, and he's not the little rambunctious. Well, he's still a little rambunctious, but he's not rude and like trying to like destroy everyone and do that kind of thing. But he's still not completely whole yet. Still, that's the whole point of recognizing that you don't have to be all put together. You don't have to have it all put together. So what happens next? What happens when the credits roll in life? In this case, I just had this conversation earlier again with Eric, where I was saying in my life, I envision my life as a television drama. That's how I see my life. And which is why anybody who knows me well enough knows that I always refer to my birthday year it's season whatever age I'm at. So for me, this is season 37. I'm thinking about, oh, I'm going to California in June. So it's the mid-season finale. And I think about, oh man, this period of time when I'm going down this journey and the credits just start rolling and I'm in this new space. What happens? How do you move forward? How do you stay broken? Do you become better? What if you can never quite get out of the spiral of what you find most flawed about yourself? Because we live in this like culture right now where it's all about positivity and growth and healing and changing and becoming the better version of yourself. But my question becomes, what if you either can't or don't become the better version of yourself? What if the best version of you is this? And I think I write characters like that, where it's kind of like I have a hard time dealing with arcs because I always think in context of like, what if this is the best version of them? Or like, there's slight changes. Everybody changes. We all change. There's changes, but like, what if the best version of you is a screwed up version? And I just think that about Stitch in this movie, and Lilo. Really, Lilo was a little less damaged than Stitch was, but she had her own thing. She had her abandonment issues and loss and all of that, and that's tough. That's a thing to take with you as you go through life, which is why I envy Eric, because Eric is a Zen master who just is just so like, it's all good, bro. He's the turtle in Finding Nemo, and I can't figure out why, but I want to be that. I long for that. I long to be so unbothered by life that I can just kind of be like, cool, that's whatever's whatever. Or at least have somebody pick me up like Stitch and carry me around. Because one of those two. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, that was a tangent, a weird rabbit hole. Again, this is the therapy episode. So, deal with
Or
it.
fix it in post.
But we won't. It's always said, well, don't worry, we'll just edit this out. We won't. I won't. I don't have that energy. I won't do that. Fast forward past it. It's totally fine. I'm not offended. I won't be there. I mean, I would be offended if I was, but I'm not there, so don't worry about it. But Charles, tell us about what you were just talking about.
So I will preface this that this was what I had heard of through reliable sources, but when I did my own research on it recently, I couldn't find anything about this. So I do want to preface this with a grain of salt because I do not want to spread misinformation for the sake of being, respectful and decent. But as far as I was told, and this could be wrong, so please bear with me here, but as far as I was told, the song that Nani sings to Lilo is the song that the last queen of Hawaii, or we're using the Hawaii, if you want to go this like Mexico pronunciations. It was told to me, or I researched or whatever, or I heard through reliable sources, but again, I could not 100% consider this myself, that this was the song that the last queen of this nation sang when America conquered the islands. And there is this interesting detail about the family being split up by the American government, because technically Cobra Bubbles, great guy, great character, by the way, splitting works for the American government, splitting them apart. And I think that's a fascinating, meaningful connection of using, they could have just set this in Hawaii and called it a day for funsies, but they didn't. They incorporated the a lot of the elements that make up the world there into this narrative, both personalizing it and universal, making it universal. I find that if that is true, which I do believe is true, but again, when I did my own research on this recently, I could not find confirmation of that, so please take with a grain of salt. But I do, if that is true, I do find that to be a meaningful incorporation of personalness into the material that just makes it really bloody good.
Mhm.
Bloody
I will say this. This movie's a lot, but so are we, right? It's kind of the point. Human beings are a lot. Family is a lot. So I think a movie that talks exactly about that is kind of good. I think the last thing I'll say about this before we jump into trailer reaction in our lightning round is I think that it's arguably fair to say that Lilo and Stitch is one of the best Disney movies ever. And I think a big part of that too is the fact that they kind of steered away from most of, if not all of, the Disney norms. In the sense of no princesses, no princes, none of the traditional good versus evil villain stuff. It was very much its own thing. And Disney allowed, I think Charles, you were saying that they kind of allowed them to do their own thing, and they didn't let anybody get their hands on it before. And I think that shows in it, and I think that's why it's such a quality movie. And it's really good. So I want to thank you guys for making me watch that
You're
after
welcome for the emotional discussion.
many, many years of avoidance. And after all the torture I've given you guys for in so many different ways, you guys have just you shot me in the heart, and now my heart has grown, 5 sizes larger.
We
Is that it?
got our revenge.
We're not revenge so much as perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Yes. The universe requires balance.
If I could say one other thing on there
Yeah.
for writers here too. The other thing is, if you don't know, the early 2000s era of Disney animation has been treated as redheaded stepchild, the bastard son of well, I guess the war era is more the bastard son, but definitely the redheaded stepchild of the era for various business and changing times history. But in recent years, I really have gone back to look at those movies, which I would say, just off the top of my head, Dinosaur, Atlantis,
Mm.
Emperor's New Groove, Lilo and Stitch, and they're so much more experimental than people give them credit for. First of all, Emperor's New Groove is freaking hilarious. And that's a film I grew up on. I always liked. And then there was kind of this era I was like, oh no, it's no, no, no. And then I revisited it a few years ago and I just kept quoting it because I'm like, this movie is hilarious. And it's interesting because that movie is set in ancient Peru, right? So it also has this Hispanic touch. And what's interesting about that movie is that it was originally going to be this epic movie. It was going to be like Lion King, this really serious big movie. Really messy history as to how it came out to be it is. And I was sort of thinking when I was watching it again, I was like, well, isn't kind of weird? Isn't that kind of like disrespectful of not having a grand Hispanic story? And then I realized I'm like, no, it's hilarious because you're showing multiple facets of a people that we can be just as silly in
Yeah.
one respect and then very dramatic in another. And I think that's amazing. And then Atlantis really does kick butt, man. And there's a lot to really appreciate about that movie. And is one of the few Lost World stories that when they finally get to the Lost World, the story gets better, not worse. Which is fantastic. And Dinosaur is a Land Before Time knockoff, but there are several elements of that film that really do work. In fact, dare I even say there actually is a brief conversation about hope that actually still really lands really well, where it's about choice, not your fate of what you choose to do. And that movie actually kills characters, which is kind of a nice detail. And then Lilo and Stitch is just creme de la creme of experimentation in terms of Disney animation stuff and what was going on at the time of animation. So, like, for example, I love Anastasia to death. I love that movie to death. But in terms of, you can tell Fox Studios said, make me a Disney princess movie. And they did it beautifully, even if the climax is always messy, even if the stage play is messy. They did it beautifully, and I love that movie to death, but it is a Disney princess movie. These movies are not. These early 2000s movies are kind of their own thing. So I'm imploring people, please keep experimenting, keep daydreaming like a little kid, and trying new things. Because if you keep trying new things, you'll find something else and you can help dear poor old Jared there on a really bad time. Or you can give me like one of my favorite best friends or anything with Jaylon to pick one of the things she has said.
Could make me bawl my eyes out and realize that there's something good in the midst of brokenness.
So please be personal and please keep experimenting. I know you'll hear about this all, YouTube shorts like, oh, yeah, well, take it from someone who's not popular, not internet wonder boy or anything. Please keep experimenting because I think it is a wonderful thing to create just the best things in the world. So that's my pep talk for the end.
I love
You
it.
have
I
received the
love it.
benediction. Go now, Father, Son.
Disney is the only place where I am the Jaylon of the group. It is the only place because, like you mentioned, all of those movies. The only one that I've seen out of those is Dinosaur. Everything else, never. I've never seen, and everybody always gives me shit about that too. Like, you've never seen Emperor's New Groove, and I'm like, no, never seen it.
You're in for a treat.
Anyway, in the comments, let us know what your favorite moment from Lilo and Stitch was. And then also, we did make a slight departure from our normal dropping you guys with lessons and all of that. We recommend that you check out our other podcast, Let's Fix Stories, where we break down your stories in real time and talk about all the things you did right, all the things you can do better, and how to elevate your work to where you want it to be, not just where the reader wants it to be, but exactly so that that thing that you have in your brain, that vision you have in your brain matches the execution on the paper, because we all know that that is the most elusive thing in the world, is being able to get the thing that's in here right out here. So check out let's fix stories. So do you guys want to do lightning round first, or do you want to do the trailer reaction first?
What if we do lightning round first and then we do the trailer reaction to transition us into our live?
I'm for it. Okay, so lightning round. What is, besides this film, what is your favorite found family story?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oof.
Because I've talked about it already. So
I'm going to say Legends of Vox Machina because it
Also
was
good
really fun. I liked it. There are other ones that have made me cry, but I'd have to like really time travel back to my younger self to remember them. So I'll spare you that.
Fair enough. I would say the case study of Vanitas is my newest favorite. Okay, second and last lightning round question. Who is your favorite Disney princess?
Disney princess?
Yeah.
Belle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Come on, man. You've known me for long enough. You can already figure out where this is going.
Okay, kind of have a problem with all Disney princesses. I really appreciated Tiana.
Don't beat that person, Jaylon. Don't beat that person. For the love of God, don't beat that
It's the
person.
rise. It's Jaylon's villain era, guys.
2025.
So
It is 2025.
it is.
Don't beat that
This is
person.
the Jaylon villain origin episode, and
What did Cinderella do wrong?
Okay, it's fair. It's not their fault.
I'm teasing.
It's more like, how come my life can't just suddenly be perfect like that after?
told you.
Yeah.
I told you. Villain arc. It is started. That is every villain ever is just like, why couldn't it be me? Dun dun dun. And then so first Jaylon with the hot take that was just like the hottest of hot
Anakin
takes.
killing the Tusken Raiders.
And then she just then she came for the Disney princesses. So, don't mess with Jaylon. Don't.
Just get the lightsaber out.
Jaylon's red lightsaber is remember, we have to remember the first ever episode of Let's Talk Stories where Jaylon was literally a Sith when she was like she's in the red. And me and Charles are just like watching her slowly go into the darkness.
But we've come full circle.
Yeah.
I apologize. Your thing on Disney princesses, take it away. I'm sorry.
No, I never really got into those stories when I was younger, and so I don't have the nostalgic love for them that everyone else does. So it's harder to find that nostalgic soft spot when you're coming at it as an older person who wants more depth in stories. But I really liked Mulan, and I did appreciate when I watched Princess and the Frog, I liked Tiana's story. So I like those two characters.
Side detail, by the way, about things that make me cry and Lilo and Stitch. I adore so much in Mulan the two conversations at the beginning and the end of the movie with her and her dad under the tree. Later on, about a year ago, I learned that Chris Sanders, the co-director of this movie, The Voice of Stitch, storyboarded that scene. I
Oh,
said, "Of
wow.
course you did, because I'm like, everything you touch turns to gold." So it's amazing.
I think everybody knows my favorite, but if not, it is definitely Tiana. Tiana is my favorite Disney princess ever.
Who deserves her own cartoon?
She does. She does.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't heard the news then, have you? I
What?
see.
Is there bad
They were
news?
going to make a cartoon. They decided to cancel it
Why?
because it sounds like Disney has realized what I did years when people were going, we have to have our own streaming service. I said, I don't think that's a great model for your business. And they said, shut up, Charles. And I'm like, okay. Now they're going, well, Disney Plus isn't making us money, so we're going to can't not work on any more cartoons for Disney Plus, including Tiana's show. This is what I've heard. I could be wrong. Please correct me if I am, but this is what I've heard.
You never know. Disney's like, no more DEI programs, and they got rid of Tiana. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be
talking about
something
the
worse,
Declaration of
though.
Independence until they actually have to buck up and do something.
I thought it was going to be something, worse. I thought it was going to be like, I mean, that's still pretty shitty, but like, I thought it was going to be like, oh, they were worried about like the woke backlash or something that they would get, which I would not be surprised if that was like, no, she doesn't deserve a cartoon. But like, Tiana deserves all of the things. And if she doesn't get them someday, hear from me. Not that it'll matter, but whatever.
I like Tiana too, by the way. I like her quite a bit. I wish her movie was as good as her, in my personal opinion. But I don't say meanly. I mean that as like, it's an interesting concept.
Charles, that hurts me.
I do say this from a nice place. I don't mean this. I'm like, oh, da, 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 da. It's not that. But I do like
Fair enough. Maybe they'll give us a live action. We don't need it, but if they can give us Moana and they can give us everything else live action that nobody asked for, give us that. I would love to see a Princess and the Frog live action.
Yeah, where she doesn't turn to a frog.
Yeah, that would be badass.
Yeah, because change movies are dumb for the most part. Sorry, that's my personal. I don't like that Tiana turns to a frog for most of the movie. Personal taste, personally. Same with change movies.
That's fair. That is fair.
I do love Lewis though in that movie. Oh my goodness gracious, he is hilarious. I love that giant alligator.
Yes.
Wonderful
Yes.
image. Such a wonderful image.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So here it is. We are going there. Bam. Can everybody
We're
see
actually watching it?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I've already
So-
seen it.
Gotta see it again. And so
No, this is just a new version of Devil's Advocate. Hate you.
let me have this.
You.
I want to experience this trailer moment with all of you, with my friends that I found all on my own.
Wait, have you not seen it yet?
No.
Okay, never mind. Continue.
Yeah, see?
I thought you had, and we were doing it for this. Okay.
No, I've never seen it. I purposefully
Okay, yeah,
waited
never
so that
mind.
we could watch it
Okay, I
together.
take it back.
Okay, cool. Because, and I'm sorry that I emotionally manipulated you with my Stitch line.
That was peak manipulation. Very, very good job.
Yeah, I'm shit.
I
I'm just kidding.
miss the
All right.
old logo. I've said that for years.
You
They
what?
had
Did you say you hate it or you love it?
The old blue logo, the blue with the white
Yes.
castle
Oh,
and the
yes.
down, it was perfection. And then they
What's
did this new Disney World CGI thing in like 06 or something. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it never left. And now
Yeah.
there's a new one. And it's just like this river that I just miss perfection. That's all.
I've had this on pause for a while. And so I've had time to look at it because I've never, I'm also blind. So like when I'm watching it on the couch, I can never see anything up this close. So now that I'm seeing it up close and it was on pause, I was like, oh shit, there's stuff I didn't even notice before. Like this fucking mountain over here and then the Pride Rock over there. And then Wakanda, I think, is over there. So kind of crazy.
Wow.
But I mean, still, it's not as
Artistic
good as,
brilliance or just a showcase of their
it's
evil empire?
definitely a showcase of their properties, but it's still cool overall. But I still do miss the classic. Nothing will ever beat cracking open a VHS that you've gotten either from Blockbuster or Hollywood Video or Videosmith, which every time I say that to people, they're like, what the fuck is Videosmith? And I'm like, don't talk to me like that. It's a thing. It existed. But cracking it open and bringing it home after a Friday night rental and just like watching a Disney movie in that blue flag popping up, the only movies that my mother allowed me to watch. And it was like only the same few that I would ever choose to watch, but still. Anyway, time for the trailer. So let's do our thing.
We have apprehended a dangerous experiment. Where is he?
He escaped.
He's trying to find the police cruisers.
He took the red one. What hideous planet is caught in your crosshairs?
Shooting star! I wish for a friend. like a best friend.
What the hell?
He's so cute and fluffy.
He is your responsibility. Got
We promise.
Yeah.
Down from there.
Look like an angel.
no. Control him. Hey, what are you doing?
Talk like an angel.
No. Dogs on the table.
You sure that's a dog?
Yeah.
Rough.
Ew. We are not keeping this thing.
Ohana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind.
Or forgotten.
Stitch bad.
Sometimes family isn't perfect. That doesn't mean they aren't good. That was close. I don't think you're supposed to drink that.
Agent Cobra Bubbles, we have a blue dog to catch.
No, wait.
No. I'm gonna give you to the count of 3, Stitch. 1.
Okay.
That was fun.
Okay. I have thoughts.
Can I be the Grouch really quick to get it out of
Yep,
the way?
go
Because I
ahead.
am the Grouch.
Be the
First.
Grouch.
Okay. So I despise practically everything about the live action Disney remakes. They are everything wrong with the film industry, or one of the things wrong. I can't stand them. Yes, I've seen a few of them. They're not good. Yes, there are some good things, but they're not well made. They're a waste of time. The CGI is awful. The filmmaking's awful. They stretch and yet condense at the same time. And everyone goes, oh my gosh, it's so amazing, so amazing. And I go, so let me get this straight. Anti-corporation, but God forbid we missed the Disney live action remake, whatever. Though, by the way, I will confess, there was a time, I did not mean to, but there was a lady in a college classroom I was in, and she saw the Beauty and the Beast remake, and I opened my criticizing mouth about the movie, and years later I went, well, she didn't respond after I said that. I just shut her down in the entire class for the class, and I felt so bad, and I felt bad for the years. I did a screw up. That was wrong of me. I shouldn't have said that. I didn't say anything mean, but I was intellectual, and I screwed that up. So that's wrong on me. I totally did wrong. So I wanted to apologize for that in public. But beyond that, I can't stand these. The filmmaking is terrible. The concepts are terrible. The CGI is always awful. I always feel I'm going to stick my finger into the film and like get oil all over it with the CGI. They're a waste of time. They water down everything, and then they walk on the hoity-toity high ground of morality, which is ridiculous and juvenile and nonsense. And I knew they were going to get to my movie. They've already gotten to the others. But I will say, I didn't actually think. I said, I was telling my siblings, I'm like, controversial opinion here. I said, but I think Lilo and Stitch maybe could really work. Because again, what do the concepts of the movie of Lilo and Stitch and the family and Vi and everything mean in today's world? Because it's very different from them. Heck, they were making this movie when 9/11 happened. That's why if you think of the ship, that was originally a jetliner. And they were going to fly through Honolulu. Then 9/11 happened and they had to change the whole thing and et cetera, et cetera. So it's literally that different of a world. And then I saw the trailer. I said, well, I'm going to have to see the trailer that way. It's notable. I think Stitch looks surprisingly adorable, but the CGI looks terrible. I think it's actually what is clever to make Jumba and Pleakley humans, because I think the cartoonish disguises does not work in live action. So I thought that was actually a smart choice. The thing that I wanted to bring up mainly is I really hope the trailer just made Lilo scream out of context, because Lilo screaming at Stitch seems like you do not understand the character. Likewise, I did come across this. My sister sent me something in this guy on Instagram saying, he's like, please, Lilo needs to punch Myrtle because it is the character. But me and my siblings were talking about, we were saying it would be terrible if Lilo didn't punch Myrtle there because it's that Disney hoity-toity high moral high ground. But also, they don't want queer people to exist, but they'll definitely take their money to say, oh, Lilo is a modern child, and modern children don't hit. And Lilo hitting Myrtle was a bad thing in the back in the old days. No, no, no. That's insulting to my childhood era. That's insulting to modern children. And to say that Lilo is not a good kid if she doesn't do that, or if she hits Myrtle, is a terrible thing. And I do hope they don't do that. I'm not sure how I feel about Cobra Bubbles being in on the alienness, but that's a personal taste. Otherwise, actually, I think it looks pretty okay. I'm not going to see it because I don't care for various reasons. But if someone, say like, I don't know, a pretty woman, said, oh, let's go see the movie, I'd be like, let's get off my bones. So it looked pretty okay.
Fair.
Ooh, that was way nasty. That was way less nasty than I thought it would be. These are so anti-animation and persist the anti-animation everything, and I can't stand it.
Fair.
Sorry.
Fair.
I'll be quiet.
Jaylon, what did you think?
Okay, I'm gonna say this, but I'm open to being wrong. I didn't see anything I liked about the character of Lilo in this film, in this trailer.
By the way, trailers are horrible now.
Yes.
They will just make a movie that I end up loving look like trash.
Yeah.
So I do want
And
to
vice versa.
preface with that. I do hope it's the trailer.
Yeah. But no, the actress looked like there was just no personality there. And in the original animated film, the reason Lilo was so endearing is because she had that strong personality and she was the protagonist that drove the film. And I feel like she didn't have that commanding spirit, that spunkiness in this trailer. And I was greatly missing that. Stitch seemed like they nailed his character. Lilo seemed like they lost everything that made her character lovable.
Okay.
Again, hopefully it's just the trailer.
Okay. I accept that. I accept all of your opinions. I loved it a little bit. No. I loved it a lot. The only thing I didn't like was the fact that Cobra was not Ving Rhames. The actor that played him in the movie doesn't play him in the live action because he's still alive, and he's also
That's a shame. Did not know
like
this.
his voice is. They did such a good job with the animation of him that it was like, oh, I believe that. I believe that's him. And it looks like the person that they got playing him, Courtney B. Vance, who is, I know him from The Preacher's Wife, but yeah, he's okay. All right. Okay. Now I'm really pissed off about it because he's literally the same age as Ving Rhames. So, like, they're both 65. That's crazy to me that you wouldn't.
Very unusual.
So it's like, why wouldn't you just put him in the movie? Maybe there's a scheduling thing because I do know that he was just finishing Final Mission Impossible movie. So maybe it was a scheduling thing and that's why it didn't happen. But if there's no real good reason, it makes no sense. Other than, I know it's a weird reason for me to be upset about the trailer, but I'm not upset. I just think you did that. It's fine. However, Stitch is awesome. Looked awesome. I thought he looked great. And I love the personality. I did like Lilo a little bit. I agree. I would have to see more of her in the movie for me to make a real decision about it. But as an actress, the little girl doing it, I believed it. And oddly enough, it's very rare that I watch a trailer and I say, I'm going to go see that. It's usually one of those things where it's like, if that comes out and it's free somewhere, I'll check it out. Or maybe I'll pirate it because I'm a criminal. But
Stealing from the people who are burning this earth is not that criminal. But then you're stealing from the artists. The artists are not getting money. I know this because I know how the industry works. So maybe Cheryl, you should. No, there is no Cheryl. I'm just doing a bit.
So, but this is one of the rare times where I was like, no, I actually want to go and see that movie. I won't, but I do want to. I do want to see it. But overall, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty good. I'm glad that I didn't just go and watch the trailer before, because I had heard that the trailer was coming out, and I was like, I might check it out and see if I'll finally give Lilo and Stitch a chance, and I'll give it a chance in live action. I feel similarly to Charles about live actions. I do feel like they are unnecessary most of the time. They just feel like cash grabs and a way to just further expand upon IP without really expanding on them at all. However, I do also acknowledge that it is a piece of people's childhood, and Disney is a corporation, and they have corporation means and ideas. I do think that they still do understand the concept of creating experiences with children that need to be recreated for us that are now adults. And live action is kind of,
They could experiment, make new things, see how this ties together.
yes, it definitely could, and I agree with that. But I think that it's kind of one of those things where it's like they feel like adults ingest live action better than they do animation, which I don't think is necessarily true. But
This is my thought on it. Agreeing with what you're saying, but also seeing it from a different perspective. I appreciate live actions when I choose to look at it as children. We have that imagination and that, not naivety, but childlike spirit that makes us believe in animated things that don't look real. We just believe it. But then as adults, our imagination, going through the process of becoming an adult, our imagination becomes damaged. And I think that with these live actions, it's a beautiful reminder that the same stories we believed in as children are still true, even though our imagination is broken. So they're like, let us remind you, let us help you to still believe this again.
I agree with that.
So if I
agree with that. I
choose
can
to
see that.
look at it in that perspective and not in the corporation, like they just need to renew their copyrights and get another cash grab at this IP, then I can appreciate it.
Fair.
I would
Well,
very
guys,
much like them to add the Pudge deaths deleted scene, though. That would be a wonderful experimentation. You don't know this, Jared, right?
I do not.
So there was another deleted scene where Lilo was going to feed Pudge, right? The fish that she's serving in the beginning. And Pudge was going to get attacked by seagulls. And she's like, Stitch, help. And he sits down and he just watches. He goes, it's hilarious. And Pudge dies. And he's like, why is Lilo upset? And he goes over and she's like, you have to protect family. You don't just leave family like that. And she buries, or something like that. And she buries Pudge. And Stitch is watching this. And then he just kind of goes away on his side and he's like, God, what have I done? And Lilo comes to comfort him, but he gets to learn the consequences of his actions. They cut it because it was too dark. Personally, I think even as a kid, that would have really pushed me as a kid. But I do think it's a really poignant, really interesting thing. And I think that's what I'm trying to say is, honestly, I watched this trailer and I must admit, like, it made me feel kind of warm. You know, I don't want to be that
You're
jerk.
not that much of a curmudgeon.
Yeah, I don't want to be that,
Not like me.
that pseudo-intellectual jerk who accidentally, and she was a nice lady too, and I screwed that up. Like, I don't want to be that guy anymore. But, it did make me feel that. But I would love to see them do that. I would love to see them explore those ideas. If they did that, that would make me very happy. Not in the brainy sense, in the expression of the meaning that the story can have, a reminder of its timelessness. Timelessness, we circle back to the main point. I did it.
So we got to do recommendations, and then we can leave you. We're not leaving you. Sorry. That was
another full circle moment, though. Oh,
I spent like an hour talking about how, I hate being abandoned. And then the last thing I tell is we're leaving you. And so I'm an asshole. I apologize. But okay, recommendations. What do we have to recommend this week?
Jared, you need to watch Emperor's New Groove.
No. Okay.
Yes.
Is it going to make me cry? I don't want to cry anymore.
No.
It won't make you cry, but I will say it is a story of a villain and redemption, and it's actually quite good in that respect. I personally think it's freaking hilarious.
It is. It'll make you laugh way more than it will make you cry, if it even makes you cry.
I also avoided it actively because of David Spade, so I don't care for David Spade.
I can't help you there with this, but it has Eartha Kitt, man.
Fair enough. That is redemption.
Patrick Warburton and Eartha Kitt, man. Like,
all redeemable.
So if you watch this movie, you'll finally, if you ever hear see me go, you'll finally get it.
Okay.
Elon knows what I'm talking about. People have seen this movie talking about. Or as me and my siblings love to do, what does that have to do with anything? No. He's got a point.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess a recommendation for me, because it's timely, at least as of this recording, it's over on my shelf, I can't get it, is Daredevil Born Again, the comic book, not the show. The show, to my understanding, just uses this term because it'll make all us geeks go, oh my gosh. But the comic book. That is my favorite comic book of all time. If I was able to pull it out right now, you'd see the plastic's kind of ripped. I've read it so much. It's my favorite comic book of all time. I've reread it several times. It still holds up. That is like the story about never giving up and persevering through the worst things. And if you don't know what it is, essentially it is a storyline in which the Kingpin finds out that Matt Murdock is Daredevil and he sends him to hell metaphorically. And what happens next? And it's my favorite comic book. Bury me with it. Put me in the grave with this comic.
Fair. I guess for me, I don't have a recommendation.
You just spent like the entire first half of today convincing me to watch WWE. So
Yes. Okay. True. Okay. So if you're gonna watch anything, you should watch WWE programming. They're really cooking right now over there with their storylines. There was a really there was a period of time where WWE programming was cheesy and corny and silly and stupid.
I remember that.
And it was just like, what are we doing? But I just recently started watching it probably consistently last year around WrestleMania when Cody Rhodes finished his story, which I was telling Jaylon and Charles about, the epic story of Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Cody Rhodes finishing his story. And now I am so ready for Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at WrestleMania this year, which is in a few weeks. And I'm just so excited about it. And I think you guys would be excited about it too. Wrestling is becoming, it's weird because it's kind of like how comic books are and how anime is, where like when you were in high school, everybody was like, oh, how could you like that? How could you whatever? Yeah. And then now it's like, it's a thing and it's like picking up and people starting to like it. Wrestling is one of those things where now it's like, now people are like, oh, I love wrestling. Wrestling is so cool. Da-da-da. It's like, no, you didn't like it before. You don't get to be here now. No, but
yeah,
but I am inviting people in.
Geek cultural appropriation. That is a good for conversation for another day. Also known as my college years. People will be like, oh, this is a Marvel. I'm like, you've not picked up a single.
You are not.
You know what sucked about that? Join us. Have fun. I loved it. I loved hearing people talk about that. And you know what bothered me? Was suddenly they said, oh, Charles, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
That I couldn't.
That's the worst. Yeah,
Join
if
us,
you want to come in.
I don't care. I will not gatekeep. Join us.
If you want to come in and love the thing,
get me out
awesome.
of the table.
Don't you ever pseudo-intellectualize me about something that you just now found last week, Stephanie. Anyway, so
sorry, college war flashbacks.
Calling out all the Stephanies and Cheryls in this episode.
Exactly. We're all on our villain arcs, and it shows.
I hope no one looks at me and they're like, that guy. That makes me sad. I'm gonna cuddle my Stitch here.
Yes.
Yeah, do it.
That's why I love when Nani holds him like this, because that's how you hold him when I was little. With his bottom here. So every time I see Nani's about to throw him out the house, I'm like, just gotta sit him with him here.
Yes, do that. It humanizes you. All right, guys. Well, we are out of here. Thank you for listening. We went over again. It's just what we do. I think this is just who we are now. So
we're broken.
We're broken. Please love us anyway.
We're like me trying to run at soccer laps as a kid. Like, I will finish the laps, but I will not be first.
So yeah, next week we're going to be talking about Jaylon's favorite movies, Newsies, and so. Yeah, young Christian Bale time. So
good for you, Jared. I know it's been like almost 20 years, but still.
No, all right, guys, we are out of here. We'll see you next week.